This video was created by VinylicPuma of VinylicPumaGaming. Warning: vulgarity awaits.
Maliwan. You know what, guys? This list was actually a little bit tricky to do. For the most part, Maliwan is a pretty solid weapons manufacturer. After all, they did make the Norfleet, Grognozzle, Absolute Zero, Ol Rosie, the Pimpernel, Thunderfire, and many, many more great guns and weapons. And they even made the Magic Missile, which is the cornerstone grenade mod for many Borderlands 2 players' arsenals. So as you can see, Maliwan is pretty much the shit. They make great guns and weapons. That said, we wouldn't be here today if Maliwan didn't also produce some utter shit. While they aren't as bad as other manufacturers like Bandit, Jacobs, or even Tediore, Maliwan does have some guns that make you wonder what the executives at Maliwan were thinking. Without further ado, these are the top 7 worst Maliwan guns and weapons in Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel. God help us. Number 7, the Crit. This gun, man. Now, I do realize I put this gun on the best shotguns list. This was because the Crit actually does have pretty good stats for what it is, and it's also a Moxie weapon, meaning it heals for a percentage of the damage that it deals to its enemies. Even though the Crit only comes in shock element, the gun can actually deal a decent amount of damage and is almost on par with some of the legendary SMGs that are available in Borderlands 2. But you know what? Then the executives at Maliwan had to royally fuck this gun. The Crit randomly, quote-unquote, slips or falls out of your hands during the reload animation. This one thing makes the Crit completely unreliable for many players, including myself, even when compared to the less powerful Good Touch and Bad Touch SMGs that are both Moxie weapons and are also both made by Maliwan. Now, I suppose that it's also worth mentioning that the side quest mission required to get this thing, Critical Fail, might just be one of the most infuriating piles of fuck ever. God help you if you're playing single player, as you're mandated by this quest to die and constantly respawn. And then not only that, but the gun constantly flies away until you can finally pick it up. Now, you figure that after going through a bunch of bullshit to get what is essentially a gun with good to really honestly even great stats, that the Crit wouldn't be as fucked up as it is. I really wish I had some mod tools, man. That way I could remove this stupid reload gimmick for this gun. Fuck this piece of shit. Number 6, the Cryo Phobia. The one thing I would say that the Cryo Phobia has going for it is that it's a cryo elemental weapon. Cryo is amazing in Borderlands the pre-sequel and is arguably better than Slag in Borderlands 2 since it not only freezes enemies but also increases explosive and critical hit damage. So not only do you get a damage buff in addition to an ability that makes it so that enemies can't even move, which is pretty awesome in my opinion. Otherwise, the Cryo Phobia is honestly horrible. The damage it deals is not nearly as good as rocket launchers from other manufacturers. Weapons like the Mongol and Nukem are awesome in Borderlands the pre-sequel. Kanada's laser is amazing, and I'd even say that the Berrigan, while I ultimately think that it's a lousy weapon, is at least better than the Cryo Phobia. Like its Borderlands 2 counterpart, which we'll be going over shortly, don't worry, the Cryo Phobia emits exploding novas as it travels through the air. However, unlike its Borderlands 2 counterpart, these novas are significantly less noticeable because of the ridiculously high projectile speed. That, or because the Cryo Phobia just emits less novas, I guess. I have no idea. Hopefully you didn't waste any time farming this thing from the Bosun in the pre-sequel, because I sure did. Number 5, the Pyro Phobia. To be honest, guys, I have never liked the Pyro Phobia or the Cryo Phobia. Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel have a bunch of really good legendary rocket launchers. In Borderlands 2, we have the Norfleet, the Bada Boom, and even the Nukem and Mongol are pretty decent in the right circumstances. And while I would say that the Bunny Launcher is definitely worse than the Pyro Phobia, what's the fucking point of the Pyro Phobia? I guess the rocket damage is decent, but its special effect is almost useless and is entirely impractical. You get a trail of these novas that follow the rocket as it travels through the air. How the fuck are you even supposed to get the Novas to hit what you're shooting at? You literally need the enemies to perfectly form up in a straight line, and then you would have to perfectly shoot in between them to get the Novas to hit the targets that they're supposed to have fucking hit. This weapon's effect might be better suited to a rocket with slower projectile speed, except the fact that the executives at Maliwan decided it would be a good idea to give the Pyro Phobia a fucking Maliwan barrel, which increases the projectile speed. What a pile of fuck. Number 4, the Frostfire. This is just another weapon that is cool in concept, however it's been butchered in its execution. Why is it that the other version of this weapon from Borderlands 2 consumes 1 ammo per shot, while the Frostfire consumes 2 ammo per shot? What the fuck? For those of you that are unfamiliar with the Frostfire, this is a gun that shoots a cryo projectile that deals fire damage with a chance to freeze enemies, which is weird because you would think that it would deal both cryo and fire damage. However, the downside is that this gun occasionally freezes the player during use. While this effect isn't always on, the decreased movement speed can be a real pain in the ass, especially if you're trying to get away from enemies while you're trying to recover your shields. Now, I suppose it's also worth mentioning that the Frostfire can only be acquired once, and only during normal mode. May I ask why? I guess it's not the best weapon in the game, but I think if more people were exposed to it, maybe more people like me would be here complaining in the hopes that Gearbox might fix it. Yet another reason I wish I had some mod tools. Number 3, the Chulainn. So I'm not extremely mad about the Chulainn, I'm just ultimately bummed out about this weapon, because this weapon actually has the potential to be good. In fact, I might be able to say something similar about the Frostfire as well. While the Florentine from Borderlands 2 fixed some of the problems that players had with the Chulainn itself was really only ruined by its self-slag ability. Other than the crippling self-slag, the Chulainn has some good things going for it. It has better ammo consumption than the Florentine, and benefits more from using the Beast Shield in my personal opinion. And I also like the look of the Chulainn's design, and I think it's more inspired than the all-chrome Florentine in terms of comparison. The purple and orange look of the Florentine is pretty nice in my opinion. Ultimately, I wish we had some mod tools, because I think the self-slag, if you were able to remove it, it would make the Chulainn a lot more useful and fun to play with in like private matches or whatever. Ultimately, if you want a Chulainn, you can get one for siding with the Zaffords during the Clan War side quest missions for Borderlands 2. Number 2, the Storm. Fuck this piece of shit. Guys, I really hate the Storm, as I think it's somewhat representative of just how little effort went into the first batch of pearlescent weapons that we got for Borderlands 2. And yes, while the Butcher, the Stalker, and the Avenger are fairly decent, the Storm is horrible by comparison. Seriously, why would anyone even pick this up when you can get either the Volcano for Axton or the regular Maliwan Snider for every other character in the game? The Storm should have been a substantial and worthy upgrade to the Maliwan snipers that we already had, and that alone would make players interested in even farming for one of these. What is the point of the damage over time orbs anyway? Direct damage affects your DPS the most, and the best guns in the game have the best direct damage available. I don't mind them trying to do something creative and interesting, but the gun needs to be actually good and worthwhile to use. Can you believe that you can only obtain this in Ultimate Vault Hunter mode, despite the fact that it's actually inferior to similar snipers from the exact same weapons manufacturer? You know what, guys? Hopefully the Storm never comes back in future iterations of the franchise. It is a hellaciously horrible heap of shit. Number 1, the Wanderlust. What a boatload of ass! This is yet another creative, yet poorly implemented gun or weapon available to the player in Borderlands 2. And yes, I get what they were trying to do here. They were trying to make a pistol that you could fire and the projectiles would randomly seek out enemies. Despite the limitations of E-Tech weapons, this isn't actually an entirely bad idea, it's just that the execution is bad. The projectile damage is inferior or on par with similar weapons that fire faster and are capable of performing critical hits. unlike the Wanderlust that fires slow as shit and can't perform a critical hit to save its life. Not to mention that the Wanderlust has ridiculously high ammo consumption. The base model version consumes 3 ammo per shot. That is fucking ridiculous. And the binary version consumes 6 projectiles per shot. Like, what the fuck? That's the same as the double penetrating Unkempt Herald, and that gun is fucking amazing. If there is one gun on this list that everyone should be mad about, it's definitely this one. And you know, while I don't like the Carnage, it's at least somewhat decent. And while some don't like the Storm, it's actually a pretty good sniper rifle at long range on Maya. But then you have the Becca, and the Becca's phenomenal. So how did they fuck up the Wanderlust this much? Gearbox, if you are out there, please fix the Storm and the Wanderlust and make them awesome guns. We'll all forgive you. Alright guys, that's going to wrap up this particular video. If you like this video, please be sure to leave a like, and as always, take care and I'll see y'all next time.